And we now speak to political analyst Jean Franco of the University of the Philippines live here in the studio. Good morning, Professor. Thanks for being here.
Hi, good morning.
Okay, well, the 18th Congress will convene today. Let's first talk about the controversial speakership race, because the president endorsed his candidates. Is the president not meddling in the affairs of what is supposed to be a co-equal but independent branch of government?
It's an open secret now and in the past that the president has always had a say as to whoever is going to be the speaker or the Senate president.
So it's not unusual.
Yes, it's not unusual.
All right. Would you say this president probably exercises or endorses more strongly his candidates compared to his predecessors?
Yes, that's correct. So that's how different it is from the past because of the president's strong rhetoric that he is endorsing someone.
Right. Okay, now let's talk about the crucial matter of who will emerge as the leader of the House minority. Who do you think that might be? And we know that the president is very influential. What happens if the House minority leader is actually an ally of the president?
Yeah, I think they would try to do that, and that would further decimate any opposition that we should have in the House of Representatives, so we should watch out for that.
How likely is that to happen today?
Well, because the rules of the House of Representatives says that whoever has the second, if I remember correctly, the second highest number of votes will be the minority leader, then that would be likely. But I guess some party lists, progressive party lists have already fielded their own candidate, diba?
All right. Now, you have extensive experience in the Senate. You worked there for 15 years in the Economic Planning Office. After the 2019 midterm elections, with a very weakened opposition, do you think we still have an independent Senate?
You know, because of the size of the Senate, it's a very small body. In the past and until now, each senator has been a separate republic, and one senator can derail the passage of major legislation. So, and that's why the Senate has always been independent, aside from the fact that it continues to exist even after the president's term ends. So that gives them a lot of leeway to sort of maneuver their way into the legislative mill.
Right. Well, some people have said, you know, it's potentially a rubber stamp Senate now because of the overwhelming majority that is allied with the president. Will that have an impact, do you think?
Ideally, yeah, that's the term, that it can be a rubber stamp. But the thing is, because their constituency is nationwide, they share the same constituency with the president, then that gives them more sensitivity to national issues, especially when there's a lot of civil society group advocating or not advocating for certain legislative proposals.
Okay, so they won't necessarily vote along with
exactly.
exactly what the president wants.
Exactly.
All right, now let's talk about this year's SONA. What do you expect to hear, and what should the public watch out for later at 4 p.m.?
Well, I guess the president will be, of course, reporting to the nation what he has achieved for the past 3 years, but also he will be looking at the next 3 years of his administration. The most important thing would probably be the economic picture, the poverty picture. The economy is doing well. Poverty has decreased, but he has to really inform the people about the issue of charter change, because this is one issue that can, for instance, affect economic reforms. He has to settle it, at least in the minds of the people, whether he's going to pursue it or not. Right.
Now, after 3 years in office, President Duterte still enjoys very, very high trust and approval ratings in spite of, criticism against his leadership. What do you think is the secret to his being able to maintain this mass appeal?
Aside from his rhetoric, which appeals to a lot of people because he invokes the familiar, it's also because his policies or programs appeal to the daily lives of Filipinos. But then again, it can also be very expensive for the government. Like, for instance, the discounts on the transportation fare of students, what else? The OFW bank, I mean, a lot of things that he has initiated are things that can be easily felt by ordinary Filipinos. So it's something that that they like, and that's one thing going for him, actually.
All right, well, 3 years on with a populist president, how has this changed our concept of governance in the Philippines?
In a lot of ways, because we've always thought that we needed someone who's there for us, who will attend to our basic needs, and to a certain extent, Duterte seemed to have responded to that.
Has his style of leadership really addressed the nation's fundamental problems?
Not necessarily, but people seem to, I mean, people's views and thoughts about the presidency and what they like in a leader seem to have jived with how Duterte is governing right now, fortunately or unfortunately for people who look at Duterte's presidency. That does not have a very good, what do you call this, image of what a president should be.
Right, but you're saying there also is the factor of people feeling the difference in their daily lives if they get free transportation and education, right? Well, let's talk about President Duterte's foreign policy. Malacanang has recently called him the chief architect of our foreign policy, and historically we've had our ironclad ties with the United States, but ever since the Duterte administration, there's been a very strong pivot towards China. Has this been in the country's best interest?
No, but you know what makes Duterte different from past presidents is the fact that you don't even have to read between the lines, because as you said, our previous presidents have always been accused of being sort of overly friendly with the United States. But in the past, you really have to read between the lines. But that's not the case with President Duterte, and that is a cause of concern for a lot of people.
Right. It's not so good that he's so clear. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, because that's not, I mean, if you look at our Constitution, it says that we should have an independent foreign policy. And if you measure Duterte's foreign policy with regard to what's written in our Constitution, then that does not, resonate very well with what's written in the Constitution.
Right. Well, what should be the president's top priorities in this last half of his term, and why?
Well, I guess he needs to really sustain the growth that we've been having, because that's also something that past presidents have worked very hard in the past. And he needs to make sure that more jobs are created. Unemployment has decreased, but then he has to make sure that jobs that are created are quality jobs, because that's something that would really help a lot in terms of sustaining poverty alleviation.
Yeah, jobs so important, because in a survey it did say that when people were asked what do you want Duterte to speak about at the sauna, it was jobs and job opportunities. All right, thank you so much for your time. It's a busy day. We appreciate you being here. Thank you so much, political analyst Jean Franco of the University of the Philippines.